I'm going to start off by telling you to sit still, buddy.
Okay, because I got ants in my pants.
You've got ants in your pants, and you don't know where to put your hands, and you don't know if your jumper's fitting you, but your jumper looks very lovely. Yes, yeah, and you look very lovely. And
thank you.
The special award behind your shoulder looks beautiful. We can notice that. Yeah, the special award for Apprentice of the Year. So that is perfect.
Yes.
But funnily enough, I was looking at the Dropbox this morning, and I was going through the different cohorts of apprentices, and I came across that. You know, have you seen the picture of the circle of me in the middle of the circle?
Yeah.
With you coming out of the circle, kind of trying to listen to what I was saying. That's the first time we met.
It was,
which was quite funny because that was such a massive workshop. And I think what happened at the time was that the BBC had decided that they could only do 1 day rather than 2 or something. So we had to combine 2 days together. And it was a huge, huge workshop.
It was.
And you arrived, I think it was something ridiculous, like 2 hours ahead of everybody else, because you were scared that you weren't going to get there on time and you were having to take the bus, weren't they?
And that is the story of my life, actually. Yeah, because I took the bus from up the valleys all the way down, and because transport doesn't actually run on time all the time, I had to make sure that I got to the center. I can't remember it. Was it
Envis, the studio?
Oh, yeah. Yes, Headless one.
Yeah, and basically there wasn't any public transport really, was there? You had to walk as well from the station, didn't you?
I was sweating, literally sweating.
And then nobody told me that we had somebody that was profoundly deaf, if you don't want me telling to saying it, but nobody informed me beforehand that there was somebody that was profoundly deaf going to be in the workshop. So that was a shock to me.
Oh no!
But I think we bonded from that day, really, didn't we?
We did.
Over the adversity of not knowing each other.
I just remember because I think I saw your husband was working that day with you.
Yeah.
And he was like a door bouncer, and I was like, hi. I was pretty nervous, and from that day, and I met you all and stuff, before, allowed me that chance just to say, hey, look, I'm hearing impaired, and I can't remember not putting it on the form.
No, but we didn't see your form because it was BBC. They hadn't shown us the form. That was the point.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I think that's what it was actually. It was something. It was the first year they'd done it in that way, because normally the forms were coming to us and they'd changed the system, and it was the first time that we hadn't seen the forms beforehand, which was great. So yeah,
I can imagine that was a shock to you guys.
Yeah,
because at one point it was really, really serene and there was no one there, just me and you guys, and then suddenly it was an onslaught of everybody, and it was just too much to take in, because the hearing aids I had were NHS ones, so they can only pick up everything. I mean, and that was just like, I was like, overwhelmed.
It was everything on the thing, and then I can imagine it's so noisy then.
Yeah, but you guys made my transition through that whole workshop much easier than I've done auditions in the past, and I can see why I didn't get the job, because I mean it was just overwhelming. But literally, you guys, once you knew, you knew, and and made it. It wasn't a case of like.
And I think that's the thing about us in Sgil Cymru, that if we do know, we'll do everything we can to help. Yeah.
Definitely. That day was seamless after that. Well, I say seamless, but
yeah, I remember you were putting labels on bottles. That was your task in the art department that year, wasn't it?
It was cutting things out of newspapers and magazines, making a mood board. And I was teamed up with somebody who was also going for the art department assistant apprentice position. Oh my gosh, yeah. And I felt really. I don't know, placid and like, and scared. And at the same, there was a load of emotion because we had to go through a lot. And it was the bottles, and the mood board, which for some reason I called boogie board and everybody was like, and I even carried that through when I went, actually got the, I went through and
And you were still calling them a boogie board. Yeah.
I was, over the apprenticeship, and everyone's going, no, it's mood board. And I was like, no, I call it
Yeah.
a boogie board because it literally has to make you
Yeah.
excited, you know.
But I think maybe that's what you heard. You think?
Years ago,
Yeah.
At some point,
You know,
somebody called it a boogie board. Yeah.
That's what stuck with you. And then, you know, the other thing that I really remember about you was when you got your new hearing aids. You'd been in Sgil Cymru for a few weeks, probably, but then you'd been working in the BBC. You'd come back, and then you had your new hearing aids, and you were really showing off. And then you said to me, "Why are you talking all funny?" I said, "I'm not talking all funny." And it was because you were hearing me properly for the first time. You said, "You've got this funny accent. Why are you talking?" Because I'm not Australian, for God's sake.
Yeah, because it was really weird because the old hearing aids didn't pick up just sound, it picked up everything. So it wasn't digital as such. It was, the new ones were absolutely pinpoint. You were speaking and everybody else kind of like fades out until they speak and stuff like that. There was no unobscured sounds, if that's put it that way. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, yeah, is that what you sound like? Because everybody sounds really different through different things. I mean, you know, I'm not sure about headphones and stuff like that, but yeah, you did. You sounded really Welshy.
Well, which I am, obviously, but it's a different kind of Welshy, isn't it? It's an Australian Welshy.
Yeah, and Nadine, well, you know, that was proper. I couldn't really understand her half of the time.
Yeah, she's a different Welshy again. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I just agree with her, whatever, because I couldn't really understand her, but she is proper valleys now.
But the other thing that was great, I thought, because your cohort were quite small, I think we only had about 15 or 16 apprentices then.
Yes.
And we had different people coming in to talk to you every now and then, and some of them, let's say, weren't showing you the right kind of respect that we were doing as Sgil Cymru.
Yes.
The whole cohort became very, very protective of you, which was wonderful to see.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's hard to explain, but I'll try. It was something that I haven't had in the past. I mean, I've got friends and stuff like that, and they are very protective and, you know, very make sure that I'm okay. But in a professional environment, as Sgil Cymru and the learning environment, I've never had that. And and it was like there were some tasks that we were given, and I absolutely didn't hear what they wanted. And then they would kind of like, it was like demeaning in a one way, because they're talking to you like a 5-year-old, and you're, you know, technically at that age, I was pretty old, 48, I think. And technically, I understood what they were asking, but not what they wanted, you know. So and then the class was like, they shouldn't be talking, and nobody should be talking like that, and he shouldn't be talking to you like that. And and they became very close, and if I needed that little bit of assistance, and that was something I've never had before. And you know, in the classroom environment, sometimes, you know, I always felt really bad, because I just look at somebody go, what's going on? Really nice. And Sgil Cymru made that the transition into the classroom and the workplace much more seamless. And knowing that people are just looking out for me was, you know, not because I had special needs, but because, you know, at the end of the day, I couldn't hear what some people were saying.
Do you know what else? What it taught me as well, something that I hadn't worked out before, I must admit. When we had somebody that needed maybe a little bit more help, different help, whatever, we all learned as well, and the whole cohort were learning. I think that's a great thing, though, really. I mean, if you're learning, then it's helping me, you know. It's all about understanding and educating each other, you know, because there were people from all over the country, and some people that I've never met before, and, you know, and had to learn about their cultures and their skills and where they've come from. And so you're constantly learning in that environment. And if you guys are learning, I mean,
at one point, I know you said, did I want an interpreter? And I was like, no, because I'd like to keep my eyes on that. And that's when I got the technology, and the encouragement was really, really outstanding. That's all I can say. It made it easier to learn in an environment, even against adversity on some of the tutors, and sometimes it's hard when you've got one person who needs that just a little bit more help, to not let it impact everybody else. So I understand it's a case of balance, and Sgil Cymru, I can't say enough of how easy it was. And I've never been in the classroom, even when I was a kid, never had that kind of support, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great though. That's great to know,
Yeah, I'm glad you need because you need that, because anybody that comes after me with learning difficulties or hearing impairments or sight impairments, I think you guys are on board.
Yeah, well, you guys the year after you, actually, we had another profoundly deaf person who did work through a sign interpreter. So, you'd prepared the ground, really. It wasn't a problem because we'd already had Barry, so it was fine. We knew what we were doing. So, that put us in a good place, really, which is great, isn't it? So tell me a little bit about work then, because it was BBC and it was a studio environment, and you went to work on Pobol y Cwm for quite a while, and you really settled in really well. Apart from let's just say when you walked across studio floor with a box of props when they were actually recording. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, I'll get to that. I was already previously to the apprenticeship. I was working also with Pobol y Cwm as their graphics department, so I was learning how to, because I came from a theatre background. So where I was before, I was literally artistic directing and producing and stuff in theatre in the community. And then I went through a little bad patch, and then I had help with trying to get back into the work environment. And so I went to work experience for 10 weeks with Pobol y Cwm, and they were like so impressed. They asked me to stay another 10 weeks, so that was 20 weeks, and then doing the graphics for them and the motions and just being an assistant basically in the graphic department. It was. And
then I remember you said that you came across Misha and Lucy.
Where
apprentices or had been apprentices at least.
Yes, there was two apprentices, previous apprentices from Sgil Cymru. And I came across Mish. Wow. That's all I can say is she was like a whirlwind, and I'd never met, I've met art directors from Pobol y Cwm, worked with them, graphic side and stuff like that, but I never knew about the apprenticeship or anything like that. Or, I just thought these people just dropped in from wherever they did. And it was, I met Mish, and she was, I remember her podcast now, she said she was messy everywhere, and, and it was, I was on the hot desk and pretty much working on the end of the hot desk because she'd taken the whole lot up. But I got to work with her and, helping her with the graphics and stuff like that, because, they haven't got time. Art directors, set decks don't have that time to sometimes just be there 24/7. So I got to work with her and follow her around on the floor, and, and have that experience. And I was like, I like this. And I kept on saying to me, I really like standing by the standbys and looking what they're doing. And she was like, well, this is something you could do. We had that conversation, and she said, well, I came from the apprenticeship. And I was like, and I was like, what apprenticeship? And then through that conversation, the next year's apprenticeship, which was 2017, was coming up for the what do they call it? The auditions? Do you call them auditions?
No, recruitment workshops.
Recruitment workshops. It was like an audition, trust me. But so Mish did mention it, and then I went for a job in the BBC, and I applied for one, and sadly I didn't get it. But then working on Pobol y Cwm, I was learning, and I was constantly because I love learning. I love learning new things and stuff, and finding where I fitted in the art department if I wasn't just the graphics guy. And Mish always encouraged, and she was really encouraging. Yeah, no, meeting Mish was probably the key to where I am now, because she gave me that knowledge. And she was, all I can remember is encouragement, but lots of laughter and lots of crazy moments where I went, oh my God, yeah. Because it might be a slow pace, feel like a slow paced environment, because they're good at what they're doing, and they've been doing it over years. I think 17 years or more. I think 50 years or something like that, you know. But I really did feel at home, and Mish and the other art directors literally just made me feel that this is a course you could go, you know, this is something you could do. This is an angle. So I wasn't just the graphics guy. I ended up being the art department assistant as well as doing the graphics. And then the applications form came up, and they were like, do it, you know, do it. Because I got turned down from that one job, and they were like, no, this is the way forward. This is learn. And so I applied, and but niche was.
It worked.
It did. It did. I came through your workshop, and then I got the position, art department assistant apprentice.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's just such a long title, and it was. Even though I knew what was required, I didn't realize the impact when you literally working with everybody. I mean, you're working with production designer to all the way down to probably the mailman. You know, it just sounds really weird.
And that is true, isn't it? You know, you're a cog in that whole machine, aren't you?
You are, and you can see how it all works. You know, that was the time when I saw it all working with, and thinking about it, and thinking about the process. And with Mish, she, because I joined and she was still art directing, so that was easier for me to just go, wow, yeah. But I met Mish, and that was amazing. I'm just trying to think of other names. There's so many other names, and it's just it's just like really, they were coming and going. They're all on contracts and stuff like that. But the main ones that stayed, and John Thompson, which was the production designer,
and Owain in Casualty as well. He helped.
Owain in Casualty, and then there was oh God. There was such a long list of people working in, and I was just a small part of that, but became part of the cog. And with me, I added that extra pair of hands, extra pair of eyes, ears, technically. And it was the things that I saw on Pobol y Cwm set me for Doctor Who, because I went to Doctor Who. And from Doctor Who, I went to Casualty, and I could see myself, the learning curve. I mean, with Sgil Cymru, we had to come back and do the coursework, which teaches us to stop a minute, because it's easy doing and getting into that, but it's about what have you learned, and
how to evidence what you've learned, maybe.
And how to make sure that you've done it safely, and and so the coursework, it was just so hard. It was so hard. it was because I like doing. I'm really practical and I love it, but when it comes to the theory, I'm like, I've got a headache.
It wasn't that bad. I was your assessor. Come on, it was not bad.
No. I look back now and I think, gosh, that was the easiest time,
Exactly. And
easiest time.
Diploma to it.
I know, yay! I did. But the hard work, because I was literally traveling. I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and catching the bus still, and then trains, and then walking to the studios down in Roath Lock. And yeah, and people didn't understand that. I mean, people knew that I was coming in, but it didn't from the valley, but they didn't know I was catching the train.
I think people, they don't think of that practicality because they probably wouldn't do it themselves.
No.
That that you had 14 nowadays because you were 3 hours on public transport,
I was literally getting home around about 9 o'clock-ish. And then I was just falling into bed. And then I was back up at 5. And it felt really weird, but it shows dedication, resilience, because I don't think a lot of people would have done 14 to 20 hours, because sometimes, I wasn't leaving the office till 6, 7, and then I'd getting home, eating, I don't even, I do look back.
It's eat, work, sleep, isn't it? Repeat, eat, work, sleep.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it, really going out?
But I loved
But then,
I loved every moment. I loved every moment of that. Eat, sleep, repeat.
Shift further a bit now then, because I can remember you'd finished your apprenticeship. We knew you were going out, and then we were encouraging you to learn to drive, which you did, thank goodness. And then you came to see us in the studio, didn't you? And because you were looking for a job. And then I can remember tracking you down because there were 2 art departments within the studio then. Pino does it like then. And I took you to see 2 art directors.
You did.
Which worked because then you ended up with a job on what? Where?
On industry with which Bad Wolf and HBO industry. And oh my gosh. Yeah, that day I came to you because I was driving and because I wanted just to ask you some questions about where do I go from the apprenticeship, and because I came out of the apprenticeship and because I'd worked in prop department more than I had the set decks and stuff like that, and I had a career plan because of the Sgil Cymru and the apprenticeship scheme. And I felt like it was just careering off to the path that I didn't need or I didn't want, and want to do. So I came to you that day because I'd taken a job in Wilco's just to learn prop. It sounds really weird because merchandising is technically a retail prop store. And I wanted to learn management of incoming and outgoing and where it goes and stuff like that. And it sounds really weird, but it does work because I came to you guys, and then we went next door to Discovery of Witches, which was amazing. And actually I met some people that I'd already worked with, but the industry word is crewed up. So they were crewed up, which is a shame because they were like, we would have taken you on had you not been crewed up.
And that was just a matter of timing, wasn't it? We were in bad time.
And then we went to the industry side, which was just literally getting out of pre-production where they started crewing up themselves. And we met Steve Summerskill, award-winning, Emmy award-winning. I was like dead excited to see him, but when he mentioned his name, it goes chicken. You just want to hate it. It's just a most amazing moment because he was like, "Can you do the art department coordinating? Are you good at that?" And I was like, no, not really. Even though I'm good at paperwork. I mean, I've done production before. I've never been at that level. Never been to award-winning, running around Steve Summerskill. And I was like, so no. But he passed my, it went then through the motions. He passed me on to Anthony. I can't remember Anthony's last name, but he was amazing. He called me in. Now, I'd only been driving 3 months, and he said, can you come down now? And I was like, oh. I'd never driven technically on the motorway, like, in a fluster and all that kind of thing. But I did. And I came in for a coffee with him, and he said, can you do this? And I went, yep, I can do that. And we went through all the technical sides of it. Can you do SketchUp? I said, yep, I can do that. And he was like, so what do you want to do? I said, I'd like to either do props and work my way, because I told him about my career goal that we had set, which was to be set decorator. But I was honest with myself and said, I'd rather come in at props. And he was like, okay, we'll see who's coming on board, and we'll pass you the details on. And even though I could do all the technical sides, I just wanted to go from the career path that should have been taken, which is come out the apprenticeship and do a traineeship or a juniorship. And I got the phone call. It was like somewhere in May. Would you like to join us? And it was from Sarah Didsball. And oh my God, another person after my own heart, because it was like, that moment where I go, da-da, everything just slotted into place. And with Sarah's help, I joined Andy Vining's team of prop men for prop dressers. And it was really, really amazing experience. And everything that I learned from Mish all the way up through to Owain at Casualty and being in just all made sense. Even though I was a trainee, everything had set up to, so without sounding too big-headed, I have the skills of many things in the art department and TV or theatre production and transferable skills to TV. Yeah. But because of my confidence, I had none. And literally, so this was like coming out of the apprenticeship, with some confidence, and you could see it building up. And because of Sgil Cymru, and I have to say the BBC Academy, absolutely, it starts to make sense of why you went through the sleepless nights of doing your coursework, and little voices kind of like in your head kind of thing, go, remember not to do this, and remember when somebody's speaking to you and you don't have a clue, just say you don't know, and if you don't know, you don't know. Of course. And keep busy, and if it means sweeping the stage or
keep looking for something to do.
And never be too idle, because and things like that, and you start going, right, okay, what can I do, and the people I worked with, Stuart Wally, he was my charge hand, and for the biggest part of it. And technically I went from apprenticeship to trainee to, you can do this, and you can do it, so let's do it. And if you don't know, we'll show you. And they showed me so much more. And then with Stuart, it felt like it was leading. He was like, well, look, you want to get to set deck, this is the way to do it. And they gave me all the advice, but the hard work with the advice is, oh my gosh, driving helped so much.
Yeah,
because
I think it's easy enough for us to tell you that, isn't it? But it's to experience yourself, really.
I remember Owain saying to me, because I was just at the end of my time on the apprenticeship, and Owain did say, this, if you want to come back to even the BBC, you have to drive, because you need to get to location, you need to do this. So my one advice to any coming up apprentice is literally drive. If you don't drive, learn to drive. I know sometimes economically it doesn't work out, but it, with the apprenticeship, I was able to pay for lessons, and and I didn't have that chance to before, because when you're earning, it helps. It absolutely.
Thing, isn't it? Yeah.
An instructor, I had a good driving instructor who didn't shout. My first driving instructor was shouting at me all the time, and I was like,
somebody was shouting in your ear.
And the NHS hearing aids heard everything, and I mean traffic noise, everything, and and I'd go home and I'd be really upset, because I'd like to learn without you shouting at me, because you're really angry. The second one was through a friend, and he said, go with this guy. And literally, I just got the new hearing aids as well, and he was like, I know you can hear the road, and I know you can do the. He said, you literally talk through all what you do, where you work and what. He said, I know. And at my age, sometimes when you get a confidence knock, you have to rebuild that up.
You do.
Everybody and the apprenticeship scheme helped me to build on that confidence. And then coming to driving.
Instead of talking about the past now, then where next? You think where next? Where are we on the 5-year plan?
gosh, it's 10 years now, because don't forget, it's a 10-year, because the 5-year is, I'm 3 years.
Okay. Yeah,
because of COVID, 3 years.
Yeah.
So technically, it's the 10-year, which is to become set decorating and all that. But it's also to learn new skills, and not just in the prop department. I mean, I've done prop dressing, standby, and I know that the skills that I've learned through what Andy taught me and what Stuart taught me, the oyster of the art department. But lately, I have been looking at taking courses in art department coordinating.
Okay.
So literally, I've been calling, various production companies and training production companies and saying, I'm not ready to take a full role because I don't feel confident enough to take that full role, but have you got any juniorships coming up? Yes, in the prop department or the set deck department. And they're all like, yeah. Your name's come up on the search, or things are happening. And I'm not even realizing, but it's that the production side of it, because once I know the administrational side, I'll understand. It's really weird. I don't know I just don't know why, but I just think that the next step is the administration side of the art department. So then I get that better understanding, because as a prop man, you're just carrying, you're just doing, you're just making.
You just see your own little bits as well, don't you?
Yes, you are.
See where it can be in the whole picture. I think that's a really good idea.
And because there's much more calls out there. I mean, and in downtime, see, the problem is a lot of people think the industry, everybody just works 24/7, and it's not like that, because some contracts are for 6 months, some contracts are 3 months, some contracts are 11 months, and then for tax purposes, whatever the reason is, you have downtime more than you do in any other regular job in the creative industry. And this happens across the board. I thought it was just the TV industry, but it's a lot of in the social media, everybody has downtime or contracts and stuff like that. So in my downtime lately, I've been running and doing, and driving things around.
You were telling me the other day that you've been just driving, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, this is in there.
Because of COVID, there was an opportunity. There was everything just shut down, and then there was coming out of the first lockdown, there was an opportunity of a Channel 4 show, and a Welsh company podding. So basically, they were isolating and filming with big crew, but nobody in, nobody out. And I went for the job. Which is weird. I went for the job as art runner because they'd already crewed up the prop hand. So they've already crewed that one, so I couldn't get that one. So they said, art runner, and that was running the prop hand things and going back and forth for him in a literally in a COVID safe environment. But weird thing is, my hearing aid broke one side. And I had no replacement, so I literally called them up basically and said, can't do it. I'd like to do it, but what is the chances that what is the health and safety reasons? And they got back to me, and they were upset more than I was. I was like, but then they a week later they said, but could you run the rushes for us, because our normal runner is on it all the time and he hasn't got the time to go to Bristol. So I did that, and I learned COVID safety protocols, procedures. It was amazing to see what come out of it, how TV is going to bounce back, or the TV industry is going to bounce back, the media industry bounce back, left, right, and center. So and it was such an insight to another part of the cog, as you So loved it. Again. Yeah, you should have seen it. It was lovely, because I'm driving and I'm like, this, and I'm building up skills in driving as well. because you're just going cross country, but you've also got parking skills and oh my god, yeah.
And
But
skills and everything.
And out of it, I learned petty cash buying and budgeting and spreadsheeting and everything, and industry spreadsheeting, because it's not exactly the same
No,
as
it's not the same. No.
yeah, and receipt and
Receipt
skill thing. Yeah, so the skills I've built in the last 4 years through Sgil Cymru, all the way through, I've just slotted into place. So so where I'm going next is at the moment, it's really weird. I'm getting job offers for out of industry jobs, which I'm not turning down. But at the same time, I'm still keeping in the industry and wanting to work in that. Yeah. So the latest job offer is to be media, TV production mentor for people out of work. It's really weird because I'm like, cut this short. I'm like, I can't find a job for myself. How am I going to find? But I've got skills in computers, so I can pull up job vacancies, and I've been through that period, that transition of coming on.
So you're helping other people as well. That's
helping other people.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that until I find other work, because it is literally it's the downtime at the moment because of COVID. It's just very obscure and nobody knows really what's happening. A few productions are coming back up, and I've got people going, "Are you interested in that? Are you?" And I'm like, "Yes. When it comes up, I'll do that." And Bad Wolf, I've been in contact with Bad Wolf as well, and they're keeping their eyes out. So because the art department's a very close department, so
I think every department's the same, to be honest with you. They're all families, aren't they?
And so it's nice to have that people behind me, going, well, we'll keep you in mind, and you're really good. You do really good on that. So I think future-wise, I think I'd love to come back to Sgil Cymru, man. It's just such a walk in the park then, because now you have to go out in the real world and you have to phone people up and you have to kind of blag a job. And it was funny because Misha's podcast, she was like, she's always phoning people. She's always dropping emails.
She's very proactive. Yeah.
And I'm like, something I can learn from Misha again is actually phone them. And literally, if you haven't got their phone number, drop them an email, find their stalk. And I think the word she used, stalk. Or is that my take on what she was doing?
I think you politely stalk, don't you?
Yeah. But so I'm lately, I mean, because of what I went through with Sgil Cymru and the confidence I ooze now, it's just wow, and I can't thank you guys enough, because that one there, that one there. That one. On that note,
I think we'll finish, buddy.
And do it. I've been doing graphics and I've just been doing everything I can, like everybody else in a pandemic, and literally surviving as much as you can. I mean, and I think because I've got skills, I know I can move. I can just drop in. I mean, it's just knowing for other apprentices coming on board now. I mean, I've seen reel tapes and stuff like that on your website. I mean, so, and I've been reminded by Nadine, we do have a website. So if you need, and the newsletter, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And literally, you come into the world, you go out into the world and you forget about all the just checking, but the new intakes and stuff like that come in after us, and it's nice to see it's still happening. Sgil Cymru is still happening, and in uncertain times, diversity and adversities and.
I'm going to stop you there before you start going on.
I could talk forever. Sorry.
Of course you can.
Because I'm so excited. The industry is exciting.
Thanks, Barry.
No, thank you.